Did the Vikings breed with the natives? Is there any evidence of this? Let's find out. The Norse people first explored the New World in the late 900s AD. Bjarni Herjólfsson spotted North America after drifting off course on his way to Greenland. Later explorers such as Leif Eriksson, who went on to explore and name Helluland, Markland, and Vinland, were inspired by his voyage. They encountered numerous cultures in these expeditions. Dorset, Thule, Innu and Beothuk. Could they have intermarried or captured women from these cultures? According to a study conducted by Spanish and Icelandic researchers, the first Native American to arrive in Europe was a woman brought to Iceland by Vikings more than 1,000 years ago. So there is at least a shred of evidence they were possibly taking women as captives or wives. A genetic analysis of around 80 people from 4 families in Iceland revealed that they have a type of DNA that is normally only found in Native Americans or East Asians. According to the journal, 75 to 80% of modern Icelanders can trace their ancestors to Scandinavia, with the remainder to Scotland and Ireland. Which is probably to be expected. However, they did find a genetic lineage linked to a settlement of the Americas. The study alone isn't enough evidence to suggest that they for sure intermarried with natives, but instead just shows how one individual must have came to Iceland from the New World at some point. So what is the genetic makeup of a so-called Viking? As much as we would like to imagine the Vikings being this perfect homogeneous group of purebred Nordic warriors, DNA analysis reveals they were a rather diverse group in a 2020 study. The study revealed that Vikings were a diverse group, with ancestors from hunter-gatherers, farmers, and Eurasian steppe populations. The study also identifies 3 major genetically diverse hotspots where people mixed with people from other regions during the era, 1 in what is now Denmark, and 1 each on the Swedish islands of Gotland and Land. All 3 locations are thought to have been busy trading centers at the time. A lot of the Vikings are mixed individuals, with ancestry from both southern Europe and Scandinavia, for example, or even a mix of Sami, indigenous Scandinavian, and European ancestry. We know that Vikings sailed to the Americas. So all you have to do is assume that they met some people and ended up taking at least 1 female back with them. Despite the evidence, for now it's nearly impossible to prove a direct, 1,000-year-old genetic link between Native Americans and Icelanders. No living Native American group carries the exact genetic variation found in the Icelandic families. The study also showed in reference to Greenland the Inuit carry no variant of Viking DNA. So who exactly were the cultures they were encountering? Skraeling is the name given by the Norse Greenlanders to the people they met in North America, namely Canada and Greenland. It is also used in the sagas for the peoples of Vinland, whom the Norse encountered and fought during their expeditions there in the early 11th century. Vikings explored Vinland, a region of coastal North America. Leif Eriksson arrived around 1000 AD, nearly 5 centuries before Christopher Columbus' voyages. The Norse would have come into contact with both Native Americans, the Beothuk, who are related to the Algonquin, and the Thule, who are the ancestors of the Inuit. The Dorset had left Greenland before the Norse settled the island. So it's possible they bred with them as well. The Thule of the Arctic region traded with the Norsemen. Not long after the Norse settled in Greenland, the Thule, Proto-Inuits, arrived in the northeast Atlantic zone. The Dorset culture was a Paleolithic, pre-Thule population in the Atlantic region. They were wiped out by the Thule. The Thule also prevented the Norse from settling further west than eastern Greenland. They eventually drove the Norse completely out of Greenland, so there were no Norsemen in the Americas. Greenland is regarded as part of North America. As a result, the Thule became the Arctic zone's sole inhabitants. The Thule arrived via the Bering Strait. The region was linked to Asian trade and used iron. There was a lot of rivalry and warfare centered on hunting grounds for the bow-headed whale. Norsemen couldn't have taken Thule women as they pleased. Such interaction would probably have been in the form of kidnapping or trade, so the natives would be assimilated into the Norse. If they did have sexual interactions with the Dorset people, it wouldn't have mattered because they were decimated. There were other types of natives in Newfoundland and Labrador, and a few Norsemen reached here. Given the scarcity of Norse archaeological sites, or archaeological evidence thereof, it's hard to imagine any significant interactions with anyone outside of Greenland. According to the sagas, their first encounters were fraught with violence. It didn't help that the sagas appear to portray Native Americans as subhuman, which gives us an idea of how the Norse viewed North American natives. In the Saga of the Greenlanders, for example, the Norse encountered a group of sleeping Skraelings, natives, on their way home to Greenland and slaughtered them with impunity. In the same saga, there is a story about a second settlement in Vinland that failed due to repeated Skraeling attacks. So in conclusion, we just don't know for sure, we can only speculate. Their time in the New World was limited and relations were rather poor with the natives, that combined with DNA evidence shows that in the very least no mixing took place on a substantial scale, but there may have been isolated accounts.